My name is Elena. I'm 34, and for 9 years I paid rent to sleep in my own childhood bedroom. Last March, my mother slid a note under my door. My rent was going up again. She said it was because my brother's business needed family support. I read that note twice. Then I did what I always do, I ran the numbers. And that's when I realized the rent was never the real issue. 6 weeks later, I found my own name buried in my credit report, attached to a $38,000 loan I never signed. Stay with me, because the part where my family starts panicking isn't the part you're expecting. I grew up in a house outside Columbus, Ohio, where my mother kept a notebook on the kitchen counter. Every dollar that came in or went out got written down: groceries, gas, my rent. She'd kept the books for my grandfather's hardware store for 30 years, and she ran our family the exact same way, like a business. I moved back home at 25 when my dad had a heart attack. My mother called and said one sentence that changed my whole life. "We need you home, Elena," so I came home. When my dad stabilized, my mother suggested I stay and pay $600 a month for my old room. "Cheaper than an apartment," she said. "The money stays in the family." I'm a numbers person. 600 was fair, so I paid it every month cash, in an envelope, next to the coffee tin. Here's the thing I didn't notice for 9 years. There was one name in that house that was never in the notebook. My brother Grant, 3 years older than me. He runs a small marketing agency, and he has never once been asked for a single dollar at that table. When Grant bought his townhouse, my parents covered the down payment. Nobody even mentioned it at dinner, I found out from an aunt. When his first business failed, they covered that too, and every Sunday, the pattern was the same. Grant got served first. Grant got asked how business was going. I got asked if I'd paid the electric bill, which had somehow quietly over the years become mine to cover too. I noticed. Of course I noticed. Once, gently, I pointed it out at dinner. My mother just smiled, patted my hand, and said, "Everything in this family is everyone's." That sentence sounds beautiful right up until you sit down and add up 9 years of it. Twice I tried to move out at 28, had an apartment ready to sign for. That same week, my dad's test results looked scary. My mother fell apart, and the family needed me. The apartment went to someone else. At 31, I tried again my mother's surgery this time. 8 months of recovery that somehow required me to stay. So instead of leaving, I did something else. I built a spreadsheet, quietly. I tracked every payment, every bill, every loan to Grant that was never officially called a loan. And I set myself one goal: buy my own condo before I turned 35. By 33, I had the down payment saved. The credit score. A date circled on the calendar. I thought I was just waiting patiently. I had no idea what I was actually paying for. The note came on a Tuesday in March. My mother didn't knock, she slid it under my door before 6 a.m. because she knew I left for work at 7. A note can't be argued with over breakfast. Her handwriting was neat, like always. Starting this month, rent will be $1,900. Utilities and groceries have gone up. Sweetheart. Love. Mom. $1,900. I sat on my bed and did what I always do with a suspicious number. I checked it. A room in a shared house nearby runs about $700. A one-bedroom apartment is a little over $1,000. For $1,900 a month, I could rent an entire house with a yard. My parents were charging me above market rate to sleep 10 feet from where I lost my baby teeth, and utilities hadn't gone up. I pay them myself, I have the statements. So where was that extra $500 going? I got my answer that Friday without even asking. My brother posted online, standing in front of an empty storefront, arms crossed. Big news, peak marketing is expanding. New office, new chapter. I sat in my car afterward and said the word grateful out loud in the tone you'd use for a swear word. That Sunday, I asked my mother directly, was the extra $500 going to Grant's new office? My mother has never lied to me about small things. Yes, she said, part of it is helping your brother through a tight season. That's what families do. Then, your brother is building something, Elena. You have a good job. It evens out. I looked at my dad. He was at the sink washing a mug that was already clean. All he said was, "Don't make it a thing, El." That was the house motto. The grease that kept the machine quiet. So I did the math I hated. 1,900 a month is 22,800 a year, paid to people who thought fairness was a mood I should get into. I surprised them instead. "Fine," I said. "I'll pay it on one condition. From now on, nothing moves in cash. Every dollar goes through the bank in writing with my name on it." My mother laughed. "We don't do invoices in a family." I held the line politely, no drama, no raised voice. Starting in April, my rent went by bank transfer with a memo line that said rent. When she asked me to cover Grant's car insurance one month, that transfer said Grant insurance too. I watched her face when she read it. For the first time in 9 years, the money had a paper trail with my name on my side of it, and that bothered her more than the amount ever did. My down payment was ready. My credit score was 780. I booked a mortgage pre-approval appointment because the plan said condo by 35, and that plan was the only thing in my life that felt truly mine. 2 weeks before my appointment, Grant showed up at Sunday dinner with an actual glossy folder, pitching us on his expansion like we were investors. He needed one more round of family investment. He looked straight at me when he said the word family. That was the moment the fog burned off completely. The rent increase wasn't random. It was a test to see how much more I'd carry before I broke. "No," I said. Just that, at first. The room went completely silent. Then I told them I was already contributing $500 a month to his business, whether I chose to or not. And I wouldn't be investing anything further, because I was buying a home this year. My mother said, quietly, with more disappointment than anger, "After everything this family has done for you, I want you to sit with that sentence the way I had to." I had paid them rent for 108 months. I didn't argue. I went upstairs, and that same night I submitted my mortgage documents. That application saved my life. It also lit the fuse that blew my family apart. The loan officer was warm and professional. Strong income, perfect payment history, solid down payment. Honestly, she said, "This looks clean. Give me 10 days." I let myself live in that sentence. I started browsing apartments on my lunch break, one by the river, with an east-facing balcony. I saved the photos in a folder labeled 35 because my birthday was 11 months away. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, my phone rang. It was the bank. She wasn't smiling this time. "There's a complication," she said. "A debt you didn't disclose." "That's not possible. I disclose everything." "Can you tell me about the loan you co-signed at the credit union?" I said, out loud, in an office full of people. I have never co-signed anything in my life. She read the details in that flat voice people use when the news does the yelling for them. A personal loan originated 2 years earlier. Original amount, $38,000. Primary borrower, my brother Grant. Co-signer, me. Payments made on time for 20 months. Then, 4 missed payments in a row. My credit score had dropped 90 points. My mortgage pre-approval denied. She said if the account was unfamiliar, I should pull my credit reports immediately. She said the word fraud carefully, like she was holding it with tongs. I sat in my office chair, staring at my screen, and the only thought I could complete was 20 months. Whoever did this had made the payments quietly, reliably, right up until Grant's money got tight, which is exactly when my rent went up, my condo went away, and my score collapsed. Somewhere in a file drawer across town, there was a signature, 2 years old, pretending to be mine. That night, I pulled my full credit reports from all 3 bureaus, not the app score, the real thing. There it was, the loan, the hard inquiry, dated almost exactly 2 years back. I checked that date against my own calendar and my stomach dropped through the floor. That was the exact day the whole family had gone to the credit union together to set up my dad's retirement paperwork. I had driven them there myself. I sat in the waiting area answering emails while my mother went back and forth with the paperwork because my mother always handles the paperwork. By midnight, I had frozen my credit at all three bureaus, changed every password I owned, and booked the bank's next available fraud appointment. At 1 in the morning, I found my dad at the kitchen table with a crossword he wasn't even doing. I asked him one question: did he know anything about a loan with my name on it? He looked at the puzzle and said, "Don't make it a thing, El." That was the moment I stopped having two parents. I needed to be sure before I named anyone under oath, not almost sure, completely sure. So I hired a consumer attorney who confirmed something I already suspected. Forgery is a crime. Once I filed a police report naming a family member, there was no taking it back. She also told me most people in my position never file at all. They just eat the debt to keep the peace. Banks have a name for it: friendly fraud. The ugliest two words I know. I gave myself 10 days. 10 days of eating my mother's cooking, saying goodnight up the stairs with a fraud file in my work bag and a freeze on everything I owned. I opened a new account at a different bank. I signed a lease on a small studio across town. A landlord who asked exactly 3 questions, verified my income, and didn't care what my family thought of me. He handed me the key on my lunch break. A brass key, cheap, freshly cut. The first key of my life that no one else had a copy of. I ran one last test at Sunday dinner. I casually asked my mother if she still had my birth certificate and social security card in her closet box. "Of course, honey. Where else would they be?" "Maybe I should keep my own now," I said. She laughed the warm laugh. "In this house, everything in this family is everyone's." I'd heard that sentence my whole life. This time, I heard what it actually meant. That same week, I compared the forged signature on the loan to a birthday card my mother had written me the same year the loan was signed. Stroke by stroke, there was no version of squinting that made them strangers. My mother makes her E like a cursive loop. So did the signature on the loan. My own signature looks nothing like that. She hadn't been careful, because she hadn't been afraid. It had never occurred to her that I was someone who might check. I confronted her, alone, in the kitchen. I put the photocopy on the table. She didn't flinch. She read it like a receipt, smoothed it flat with her palm, and said, "Your brother needed a cosigner with good credit. You have good credit because we raised you right. Then, it's the same pot, Elena. A little from your side, a little to his side. That's all a family is." Then, seeing my face change, her voice went cold. "If you go making this a police matter, the borrower on that loan is your brother. He's the one they'll come after first. Is that what you want on your conscience?" "Thank you for being honest," I said. I went upstairs and quietly started wrapping glasses in newspaper. Within 2 days, the whole family turned on me, coordinated like sprinklers switching on. My dad said my mother had been crying all night. My brother texted a long paragraph swearing he had no idea how the loan happened. Then, one message later, the mask slipped. "If you report this, you're not hurting her. You're killing this family over money you weren't even using." Not one person asked what had actually been taken from me. Nobody said the word forgery. It had already been renamed the misunderstanding the way my family renames anything it plans to bury. I didn't argue with any of them. I filed my federal identity theft report that same night, quietly, in my room. While they thought my silence meant surrender, it wasn't. It was me packing. I planned my exit for the night of my brother's grand opening party. String lights, sparkling cider, the whole family gathered to admire his new office sign. I told my mother I might be late. Work thing. I watched the lie land without a ripple. By 8:40 that night, my rental van was loaded. 9 years in that house, and my entire life fit into 11 boxes. I walked into that kitchen one last time and set 3 things on the counter, right where the rent envelopes used to go. My house key. A single printed page totaling 9 years of rent and bills, no commentary, because the numbers never needed my help. And a short letter. It said I knew about the signature. It said my credit was frozen and the auto pays were canceled. It said I was safe and gone and would not be at Sunday dinner. I signed it with my real signature, the one that doesn't loop like my mother's. Then I drove across town, carried 11 boxes up one flight of stairs, and turned the deadbolt from the inside for the first time in my life. My phone didn't stop ringing for 3 days. The voicemails told the whole story in order. First, sweet come home, sweetheart, we'll talk. Then, sharp, you're punishing this whole family to make a point. Then, once the bill started arriving under my real name and stopped being mine to quietly absorb, cold come home, and we'll forget this childishness ever happened. Forget. That was the only currency my family knew how to pay me in. One message didn't match the rest. It was from my grandmother, Ruth, my mother's own mother. 7 words. Come Sunday, bring the papers. At her apartment, she read every page of my file slowly, carefully. Then she opened an old shoebox and showed me a black and white photo of my mother, 19 years old, standing outside my grandfather's hardware store. She told me that my mother, at that same age, had handed her own paycheck to her brother, my great-uncle Walt, every single month for 6 years for his schooling, for his shop, for a debt that was never repaid and never even called a debt. Then my grandmother said the sentence, I taught your mother that love is a bill. I was wrong. Don't you dare pay it. 3 generations, the same pattern, finally said out loud. I still went to one last family dinner, not because I owed them a hearing, but because some part of me needed to watch it play out with my own eyes. They made my favorite childhood meal. Then they made their offer. If I signed their version of events, calling it all a misunderstanding, the fraud case would quietly disappear. In exchange, Grant would sign a real repayment plan, my rent would be canceled forever, and, the biggest offer of all, they'd put the deed to the family house in my name. For one moment, it worked on me. The house. Proof in writing that I mattered. But I asked my mother one question first. Before I sign anything, will you say you're sorry? Not for getting caught. For the signature. She looked at me for a long time. I watched her actually consider it. Then I watched her decide it cost too much. I did what mothers do, Elena, she said. I moved money inside my own family for my son. I'm sorry you can't see that. That was the whole apology I ever got. And it was addressed to my eyesight, not to what she did. I stood up. I wasn't shaking. You're right, Mom, I said. Everything in this family is everyone's. That's why nothing in it was ever mine. Not my paycheck, not my credit, not my name on a loan I never saw. I'm taking one thing back. Just one. My name. Monday morning, I went to a notary, and under the line identity of the person believed responsible, I wrote my mother's name in my own steady handwriting. Then I filed the police report and drove it straight to the fraud specialist, who read it without a flicker of surprise because she'd known for weeks. The investigation confirmed everything within 6 weeks. The forged signature didn't match mine on a single document, not my card from age 19, not my direct deposit forms, nothing. The loan was removed from my name entirely. My score climbed back up. The debt reattached to the people it always belonged to, my brother, then my parents, who took it over rather than watch him drown. My mother was offered a diversion program as a first-time offender. She took it. No trial, no headlines. I never needed her punished. I needed it named on paper, by strangers, in a place her voice could never reach again. My brother's big new office closed before the year was even out. His business went back to exactly what it always was. One man, one laptop. In January, 3 weeks before my 35th birthday, I closed on my own condo by the river. 2 bedrooms, so my grandmother can stay over. An east-facing balcony where my basil plant finally gets the morning sun it always needed. My new house key sits alone on its ring, nothing else on it. Some mornings I still press my thumb against it in the elevator, the way other people touch something they're grateful for. My mother sent one Christmas card, signed Mom and Dad. No note. I didn't burn it, and I didn't answer it either. I filed it away, the last page of a ledger I'm finally done keeping. Every Sunday at 4 p.m., my phone still rings. It's my grandmother, asking if the basil's still alive. Love is not a bill you pay to stay. And the first signature you ever owe anyone in this life is your own name, in your own hand, on your own future.